Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. There are more than a dozen different jobs hiding behind those two letters, HR. And most people, including plenty of people already working in HR, can't tell you where one role ends and the next begins. This is part 1 of a two-part series. Here we build the foundation, how HR teams are actually structured, and the first 5 roles: talent acquisition, HR generalist, HR business partner, HR operations, and payroll and compliance, plus a full India compliance cheat sheet. Let's get into it. Here's the problem. 3 people say the exact same sentence. I work in HR. Person A spends the whole day sourcing candidates and closing offers. Person B spends the day on PF challans, ASI filings and Form 16 queries. Person C is sitting with a business head deciding how to restructure a 40-person team. Those are 3 completely different jobs, with different skills, different bosses and very different salaries. So the useful question is never, do you work in HR? It's, which part of HR do you own? Why should you care? 4 reasons. 1. Career direction. Freshers apply to the word HR and land wherever there's a vacancy. People who pick a lane specialize faster and earn more. 2. If you're a founder, your first HR hire is a bet. Hire a recruiter and you'll still have a payroll mess in month 3. 3. At work, knowing who owns what means your question lands on the right desk the first time. And 4. Money. In India, specialists in rewards, analytics and business partnering usually out-earn generalists at the same experience level. Quick honesty note, every salary number in this video is an indicative market range, not a promise. Here's the plan for part 1. First, the employee lifecycle, the one mental model that makes every HR job title make sense. Then how HR teams are actually structured. Then roles 1 to 5 in depth, with what each one owns and the single metric it's measured on. Then an India compliance cheat sheet you'll want to screenshot. And finally, how the same work gets split differently in a 50-person startup versus a 5,000-person enterprise. Roles 6 to 11 follow in part 2. Before we name a single job title, look at the work. Every employee goes through 7 stages. You attract them, you hire them, you onboard them, you develop them, you reward them, you keep them engaged, and eventually they exit. That's the employee life cycle, and every single HR role exists to own one stretch of it. Here's the rule of thumb that explains almost every HR org chart you'll ever see. In a small company, one generalist owns all 7 stages. As headcount grows, each stage gets split off to a specialist. That splitting is literally how HR job titles are born. Most mid-size and large HR teams are built on 3 pillars, a model popularized by Professor Dave Ulrich, and yes, it's a framework, not a law. Pillar 1, Centers of Expertise, the deep specialists in recruitment, rewards, learning, analytics. They design the policy. Pillar 2, HR business partners, they sit inside a business unit and translate strategy into people action. Pillar 3, Shared Services, Payroll, Records, Letters, Helpdesk, the engine room. Reality check, under 100 employees, all 3 pillars are 1 or 2 people wearing every hat. Above 1,000, each pillar becomes its own team. Here's the full map. 11 roles, from talent acquisition all the way up to the CHRO, plus a set of newer roles at the end that barely existed 10 years ago. For each one I'll give you the same 3 things. What the role owns, what it's measured on, and a real example of what a Tuesday actually looks like. Save this frame, it's the cleanest one-screen map of the HR function you'll find. Role 1, Talent Acquisition. This is the most visible face of HR, and the most misunderstood. TA does not just post jobs. TA owns the requisition to joining pipeline, turning a vague manpower request into a real job description, sourcing from portals, LinkedIn, referrals and campus, running a structured interview process, negotiating the offer, and then, the hard part in India, keeping that candidate warm until they actually show up on day 1. TA is measured on time to fill, cost per hire, quality of hire, and the one metric that keeps Indian recruiters awake, offer to join ratio. Example, 40 Java engineers in 6 weeks. Sourcing sprint, walk and drive, doubled referral bonus, weekly candidate calls, because offer dropout is the biggest leak in the funnel. Role 2, the HR generalist. In India, this is usually where you start, as an HR executive or HR officer. A generalist owns a bit of every stage: onboarding and documentation, attendance and leave, the employee help desk, policy rollout, engagement activities, exits. Picture a 120-person D2C brand with exactly one HR person. Morning, induct 3 joiners. Afternoon, a leave encashment query and a background check. Evening, the attrition dashboard the founder asked for. Broad, fast, never boring. The career warning is this: generalists who never specialize tend to plateau. Generalists who use those 2 or 3 years to discover which stage they love, that's how you find your lane. Role 3, the HR business partner, the most strategic mid-level job in HR, and the most commonly misused title. An HRBP is not an escalation desk and not a senior generalist. An HRBP is embedded in one business unit and owns workforce planning, organization design, the performance cycle, talent reviews and succession, plus coaching managers through hard conversations. The good ones lead with data. Example: a fintech sales HRBP sees regretted attrition at 22% in the West region. Instead of launching another engagement survey, she reads the exit data, finds the incentive plan pays out too late in the quarter, and gets rewards to redesign it. That's HRBP work, diagnosing a people problem that was actually a business design problem. Role 4, HR operations, sometimes called people operations or shared services. People call this the boring part. It's actually the part that keeps the company legally and operationally alive. HR Ops owns employee master data, every letter you'll ever ask for, onboarding and offboarding workflows, background verification, leave and attendance systems, and the HR help desk. It's measured on turnaround time, data accuracy and audit findings, target 0. Example: a 5,000-person GCC runs a 24-hour SLA on letters, 1,200 tickets a month, and reconciles HRIS headcount against the payroll register before every pay run. And here's the career angle: HR Ops is the fastest growing entry into HR tech and automation. Role 5, payroll and statutory compliance, and in India this is a genuine specialization, not a spreadsheet chore. This role owns the monthly cycle from attendance freeze to payslip, salary structuring, and every statutory deduction, provident fund, ASI, professional tax, labor welfare fund and TDS. It also owns investment proofs, Form 16, full and final settlements, gratuity, bonus, and the statutory registers an inspector can ask for. The metrics are brutal and simple: accuracy, on-time payout, and 0 notices. Example: 900-person manufacturing plant, attendance freezes on the 25th, payout on the last working day, APF and ASI filed by the 15th, Form 16 out before the 15th of June. Miss one challan and its interest, damages, and a very unhappy CFO. Quick cheat sheet, screenshot this one. Provident fund, 12% from the employee, 12% from the employer, with the pension portion capped on wages of 15,000. ASI, 0.75% employee, 3.25% employer, for people earning up to 21,000 a month. TDS deposited by the 7th, Form 24Q quarterly, Form 16 by 15th June. Gratuity after 5 years of continuous service, though fixed-term employees now earn it pro rata after 1 year under the Social Security Code. Statutory bonus under the Bonus Act, professional tax varying by state. And POSH, 10 or more employees means you must have an internal committee and file an annual report. One live update: the 4 labor codes were notified effective from November 21, 2025, with final central rules notified in May 2026, but state rules are still rolling out unevenly, so check your state before you change a single policy. Let's make this concrete. 50-person startup, 1 HR generalist and 1 recruiter. Payroll is outsourced to a compliance vendor. The founder personally does the culture work. Policies live in a shared drive. Biggest risk? Statutory misses and 0 documentation. And here's a hot take: the first specialist most startups hire is a recruiter, when the smarter hire is often HR operations. 5,000-person enterprise, separate centers of expertise for TA, rewards, learning and analytics, HRBPS mapped to each business unit, a shared services team with published SLAs, dedicated payroll, IR and compliance specialists, and ACHRO on the leadership team. Biggest risk there is the opposite: HR becoming slow and process heavy. As a rough benchmark, an HR to employee ratio around 1 to 100 is common in Indian services companies. Quick recap before we close. 1. Every HR role owns one stretch of the employee life cycle. The work comes first, the title second. 2. 3 pillars, centers of expertise design it, HRBPS apply it inside the business, shared services runs it. 3. The first 5 roles have very different centers of gravity, TA closes candidates, generalists cover everything, HRBPS advise the business, operations runs the engine, and payroll carries the risk. 4. In India, compliance is a specialist skill, not admin. And 5. Structure follows headcount. That's part 1, the foundation is set. You now know how HR teams are built, and what the first 5 roles actually own and get measured on. This is a 2-part series, so subscribe to catch part 2 when it drops. Drop a comment telling me which of these 5 roles is yours. And if this made the HR function click for you, hit like and share it with someone who's just starting out in HR, and see you in the next one.